Chosen one, what if I told you the people who counted you out are now being haunted by your glow-up? They didn't just lose you, they lost control of the whole narrative. And now, they feel played. For so long, they thought they had the upper hand. They laughed when you stayed quiet, assuming your silence meant surrender. But what they never realized was that you weren't retreating. You were repositioning. While they moved with noise and ego, you move with purpose and patience. And now, as your light grows and your strength becomes undeniable, their plans are crumbling under the weight of a truth they never saw coming. They were so focused on underestimating you that they failed to see the bigger picture. You were never playing their game. You were rewriting the rules entirely. If this message already speaks to your soul, subscribe, like this video, and comment 77 below. But there's more to uncover. This isn't just about their reaction. It's about your transformation. Stay with me until the end, because we're diving deep into the spiritual power you've always held, the strategies they mistook for weakness, and the undeniable truth of your ascension. This story isn't just a turnaround. It's a reckoning. The silence was your superpower. When you stood silent, they thought they had won. The way they interpreted your quietness, mistaking it for weakness, was nothing more than a projection of their own insecurities. They failed to understand that your silence wasn't an absence of power, but a demonstration of it. In those moments, you weren't retreating. You were gathering strength. You were observing, learning, and preparing to move with intention. Your silence allowed you to see things clearly, what really mattered, who could be trusted, and where your energy should go. It was in that stillness that you began to reclaim control of your narrative. You stopped fighting battles that didn't deserve your attention, and you stopped wasting words on people who never listened. While they mistook your silence for surrender, you were discovering your inner power. What they saw as quiet passivity was, in truth, a form of strategic protection. You knew that every word you didn't say carried more weight than any explanation ever could. Words can be twisted, used against you, and misinterpreted. But silence is undeniable. It forces people to confront themselves. Without the distraction of your words, they had to face the truth, their own fears, insecurities, and flawed assumptions. Your silence became a mirror, reflecting back their own shortcomings. The less you spoke, the more they began to unravel. And as they scrambled to fill the void with excuses and accusations, you held firm, knowing that your silence was doing all the work for you. Your silence also became your sanctuary. In a world that constantly demands noise, reactions, and justifications, you chose peace over chaos. You didn't need to win an argument or prove a point. You were content to let your energy speak for itself. That time of silence allowed you to go inward, to heal the wounds they inflicted, and to find clarity. You built a fortress of inner strength, one that could not be shaken by their words or actions. And as you stood quietly, you began to radiate a quiet confidence that was impossible to ignore. They couldn't understand how someone who said so little could carry so much power. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, they started to notice the silence that they once mocked became the very thing that unnerved them. They expected you to react, to break down, to defend yourself. But instead, you thrive in your quiet power. They watched as your silence transformed into a presence they couldn't escape. The very space you created by not responding gave them nowhere to hide. They had to sit with their own actions and the consequences of their behavior. And while they stumbled in confusion, you grew stronger, more self-assured, and more aligned with your purpose. In your silence, you were not inactive. You were laying the foundation for your next move. They thought they were in control because you weren't fighting back, but they couldn't have been more wrong. By not engaging, you were conserving your energy, ensuring that when the time came, your actions would speak louder than any words ever could. And now that time has come. What they once saw as weakness has revealed itself as undeniable strength. The person they thought they defeated never actually existed. What stands before them now is someone unshaken, someone they can no longer manipulate or silence. Your silence became your greatest weapon because it made you unpredictable. They couldn't anticipate your next move, and that left them powerless. While they ran in circles, trying to piece together what happened, you moved with clarity and purpose. They were so focused on trying to provoke a reaction that they failed to see the transformation happening right before their eyes. Your silence allowed you to shed the old version of yourself, the one who felt the need to explain, defend, or prove something. In its place emerged someone who no longer needed validation from anyone, especially not from them. Now, as you step fully into your power, they find themselves grappling with a truth they never saw coming. You were never playing their game. You were building something far greater. Your silence was not just a refusal to engage. It was a declaration of independence. It was a testament to your strength, your wisdom, and your resilience. And now that you have emerged from that quiet cocoon, they can no longer deny your transformation. Your silence has become their defeat. Without uttering a single word, you've shown them that true power doesn't need to be announced. It simply exists, undeniable and unstoppable. Comment powerful if you're stepping fully into your divine strategy. A special thanks to all our members. Your support fuels these revelations. And if you feel called to go even deeper, there's a sacred space reserved for our community. A private room where you receive full prophetic messages daily. Join our private membership through the link in the description and walk this path with us. You were the architect all along. It's a strange moment, isn't it? The moment you realize you were never just a participant in their little games. All the times they tried to keep you in line, to diminish your light, they were only fooling themselves. You see, they were never the strategists they thought they were. They were merely playing the surface level, relying on tricks, distractions, and manipulation. And through it all, you were quietly creating something they couldn't even fathom. They saw you as a pawn, but you were always the architect. You weren't just surviving their schemes. You were using every experience, every challenge, as a building block for something much greater. There's something profoundly empowering about recognizing this truth. When they tried to silence you, you were learning how to strengthen your voice. When they tried to confuse you, you were sharpening your discernment. Each attempt to control you only taught you more about how control actually works. They thought they were directing the narrative, but you were laying the foundation for a story that would ultimately eclipse theirs. The choices you made, choices they dismissed as mistakes or missteps, were calculated moves in a larger plan. While they moved impulsively, you moved with vision. While they reacted, you created. It was never about outplaying them in their game. It was about building something entirely your own. They were so focused on winning petty battles that they never noticed you stepping back and designing a whole new field. The power wasn't in beating them at their own tactics. The power was in rising above them, in shaping a reality where their tricks no longer held sway. As they schemed and plotted, you were building structures of integrity, purpose, and strength. Structures that would stand long after their games had collapsed. Now that the dust has settled, the difference is undeniable. They see it too. They sense that the dynamics have changed, that the control they thought they had was never real. They underestimated you because they only ever saw what was on the surface. They missed the depth of your vision, the subtlety of your strategies. And now, they're forced to confront the fact that while they played checkers, you were crafting a masterpiece. Your journey was never about revenge or even proving them wrong. It was about realizing that you didn't need to engage at their level. You had the power all along. The irony is that their attempts to stifle you only made your work more resilient. Every setback they imposed became a lesson in perseverance. Every harsh word or dismissive gesture taught you how to focus on what truly mattered. While they tried to close doors, you found windows. And when even the windows were blocked, you built entirely new paths. This was the art of the architect. Not just building for the present, but preparing for the future. The more they tried to tear you down, the more refined your creation became. Today, as you look back, it's not with anger or bitterness, but with clarity. You see how each piece fit together, how each twist in turn contributed to a larger picture. What they considered their victories were actually moments that helped you grow. They thought they were shaping you, but you were the one quietly shaping the whole environment. And now, as they stand there, unable to understand how you've risen so far beyond their reach, it's clear. They were never in control. You were. This isn't about standing above them or dwelling on their failure. It's about acknowledging your own strength, your own capacity to create, to transform, to transcend. The blueprint was always within you. You didn't just follow their rules, you made your own. And now, that truth shines so brightly it's impossible to ignore. They thought they were pulling strings, but all along, you were the one weaving the entire tapestry. Your journey wasn't just about survival. It was about creating a legacy that stands firm, no matter what challenges come your way. Your reinvention is haunting them. When they realized you were no longer the person they remembered, it was already too late. The version of you they had manipulated, underestimated, and controlled had vanished. In its place stood someone they couldn't define, couldn't pin down, and couldn't break. You didn't return with the same vulnerabilities or the same insecurities. You came back stronger, more assured, and more grounded in who you truly are. That's why they're haunted. They're not battling you. They're battling their inability to control you, to predict your steps, and to diminish your light. Every time you take a step forward, every time you speak your truth or stand firm in your power, they're forced to confront the reality that you surpassed them. This haunting isn't just about your glow up. It's about the shift in power. In the past, they might have dismissed you as someone easy to sway. They might have felt superior, thinking their manipulation went unnoticed or their belittlement left no mark. But now, every action of yours exposes a truth they can't escape. You have grown into someone they can't intimidate. The balance has tipped. The quiet confidence you now carry leaves them uneasy because it's something they'll never fully understand. They thought they knew you, but they didn't know the depth of your resilience, the strength of your spirit, or the magnitude of your transformation. Your reinvention is a mirror they don't want to look into, because in it, they see their own stagnation. While you were growing, they stayed the same. While you were learning, they clung to old habits and outdated tactics. Now, your success, your peace, and your elevated energy highlight their lack of growth. It's not that you've done anything to hurt them. It's that you become everything they didn't believe you could be. That's what haunts them. It's not your presence that disturbs their peace, but what your presence represents. The proof that their attempts to keep you small ultimately failed. This isn't about revenge. It's about evolution. You didn't transform to prove them wrong. You transformed to find your truth. And yet, the unintended consequence is that your evolution stands as a stark reminder to them. They see you thriving, but they don't understand the work it took to get there. They see you glowing, but they'll never know the nights you spent building yourself back up from nothing. Your reinvention is haunting them because it's a testament to your strength, a strength they never thought you had. It forces them to question their judgments, their assumptions, and their treatment of you. It reveals their own shortcomings, their own fears, and their own inability to rise as you have. As you continue to walk your path, their reaction isn't your concern. The choices you made to heal, grow, and elevate yourself weren't made for them. They were made for you. And yet, as you move forward, you'll notice how your transformation has changed the energy in the room. Where once they might have had the upper hand, now they're left scrambling. Where once they might have dismissed you, now they find themselves fixated. They can't look away because your new energy, your new strength, and your new clarity are undeniable. And while they might never admit it, they feel the shift. They know they've lost the ability to define you. Your reinvention has become their reminder that nothing in life is static, that the person they took for granted can become a force beyond their comprehension. You've built something they can't tear down, something that stands apart from their influence. That's what truly haunts them. It's not just that you change, it's that you change in ways they can't grasp, can't replicate, and can't diminish. They're not just watching you thrive, they're watching their own powerlessness. They're not just haunted by your transformation, they're haunted by the fact that they never had the power they thought they did. You've taken control of your narrative, and in doing so, you've written them out of it. And that, more than anything, is what they can't escape. Faith built you different. From the very beginning, you knew you were different. While others sought validation in fleeting things, you were drawn to something deeper, something more lasting. You couldn't always explain it, but it was there, this quiet, steady faith that whispered you were meant for more. The world around you often made you feel out of place. People didn't understand why you didn't chase the same things they did. They questioned why you weren't as easily swayed by trends or as eager to fit into their molds. They couldn't see what you felt so deeply, that your foundation wasn't built on their acceptance, but on a truth that resonated at the very core of your being. And as time passed, That truth became your anchor. When challenges arose, and there were many, you didn't fall apart. While others crumbled under pressure, you stood firm. It wasn't because you had all the answers or because life was easier for you. On the contrary, your journey was filled with tests and trials. You faced doubts that would have shaken most people. You experienced rejection, heartbreak, and moments of deep uncertainty. But through it all, your faith held you. It was a quiet strength, a reminder that there was a plan at work even if you couldn't see it. While they leaned on external comforts, you leaned into the unseen, trusting that what was unfolding was meant to shape you, not break you. Over time, something remarkable began to happen. You stopped looking for approval from those who never truly saw you. You stopped measuring your worth by the standards of people who couldn't understand your path. Instead, you turned inward, reconnecting with that source of faith that had always been there. In doing so, you discovered a strength you didn't know you had. It wasn't flashy or loud. It was steady, unwavering. It was a kind of strength that came from knowing you were walking a divine path. Even if the road wasn't always clear, they might have called you stubborn or detached, but what they failed to see was that you weren't resisting the world. You were aligning with something far greater. That alignment changed everything. Suddenly, their opinions didn't carry the same weight. The noise of the outside world became just that, noise. The more you listened to your inner voice, the more clarity you found. You started to see your challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth. Each setback became a stepping stone. Each disappointment turned into a lesson. The struggles that once felt overwhelming now seemed like part of a greater design. And as you grew, it became evident that you were being prepared for something bigger. As the storms of life continued, you became unshakable, not because you were invincible, but because your faith made you resilient. While others were swept away by every gust of wind, you remained steady, grounded in the knowledge that you were built differently. Your foundation wasn't external, it was spiritual. That's why no matter what they threw your way, you didn't collapse. You didn't give in to fear or despair. Instead, you weathered the storms and emerged stronger, more confident, more certain of who you are. It was this faith, this unyielding belief in your divine purpose, that set you apart. Now, as you look back, you see how every trial prepared you. Each moment of doubt, each difficult season, was a necessary piece of the puzzle. They tried to tear you down, but all they did was reveal your true strength. They thought they could control you, manipulate you, keep you small. But what they didn't realize was that you were never relying on their approval to begin with. Your source of power was something they couldn't touch. It was faith, pure and unwavering. It was a quiet assurance that no matter what happened, you were destined to rise. In their attempts to shake you, they only revealed their own fragility. While they depended on outside validation, you leaned on something unchanging. While they scrambled for control, you stood firm in your truth. And now, they can't understand how you become so unshakable. They're confused, even intimidated by your strength. But the truth is simple. You're not unbreakable because of them. You're unbreakable because you've tapped into a source of power they'll never comprehend. You become the storm that shakes their illusions, that forces them to confront the reality of who you are. You become the living proof that faith is the strongest foundation of all. You are the shift they feared. From the very start, you knew you didn't quite belong in their world. You tried to play along, to blend in, but something inside you wouldn't settle. While they lived comfortably within their illusions, you felt an unsettling awareness that their reality was just a construct, a fragile house of cards. They might have thought you were just another piece on the board, another player in their game. But you always knew, even if it was buried deep inside, that you were never here to follow their rules. You were here to break them. As they built their systems of control, you stood on the outside, feeling the cracks before they could even see them. That quiet discomfort you carried wasn't a flaw. It was a beginning of something much bigger. For years, you questioned yourself. Why did their way of life feel so wrong? Why didn't you find satisfaction in the things they chased so relentlessly? It wasn't because you were lost. It was because you were being prepared. While they clung to their versions of success and validation, you faced rejection, loneliness, and doubt. It hurt. The moments of being misunderstood, the whispers behind your back, the times you felt unseen, they were heavy. But through it all, you began to see that their approval wasn't the key to your freedom. Every challenge they threw your way was a test. Not a test of your strength alone, but of your ability to see through the illusion, to hold on to your truth when the world around you tried to make you believe otherwise. Then something shifted. The struggles that once seemed like barriers began to feel like stepping stones. It wasn't a single moment of clarity, but a gradual awakening. You stopped seeking their acceptance and started following the voice within. The very struggles they thought would break you only forge you into something unshakable. As you let go of their validation, you began to understand the depth of your own power. This wasn't about rebellion for the sake of rebellion. It was about alignment. In that turning point, you came to see that your path wasn't leading you away from something good. It was leading you towards something divine. Like in the story of Gideon, when the smallest and least likely among them was chosen to lead, your doubts were the very things that proved you were destined for something greater. And then, the transformation began to show. The energy around you changed. Where you once felt scattered, you started to feel focused. Opportunities began to align, not because you forced them, but because you stopped resisting the flow of what was meant for you. The people who doubted you began to notice the difference, though they couldn't put it into words. It wasn't just that you were doing well. It was that you were moving differently. Your steps carried weight. Your presence held a calm power. The world that had once seemed so confusing and chaotic began to make sense. Not because it changed, but because you did. Those around you could see it, too. The very people who had tried to contain you now watched as you stepped into a light they couldn't dim. What they never understood and still struggled to accept is that this shift wasn't a random event. It was the culmination of something sacred. Behind every disappointment, every rejection, every moment you felt isolated, there was a higher force aligning your path. You weren't just walking blindly, you were being guided. Every no they gave you, every door they shut in your face, was part of divine preparation. As you stepped back from their illusions, the universe stepped forward. The synchronicities, the unlikely connections, the sudden clarity. All of it was proof that you were never walking alone. While they thought they held the power, you were being strengthened by something far greater, something they could never control or understand. Now, as you stand fully in your power, you realize the truth they feared all along. You didn't come here to fit in. You didn't come here to play along. You came here to shift the narrative, to break the cycles, to rewrite the story. Every move you make now reflects the truth you've always carried. You are not here to conform to their expectations. You are here to dismantle them. The more you rise, the more they're forced to confront their own illusions. They feel played not because you deceived them, but because their illusions could never hold someone who is destined for something real. Your very existence, your growth, your transformation is a reminder to them that their control was never real to begin with. And now, they're left scrambling. As you move forward, no longer bound by their limitations, they find themselves lost. They can't understand how you stepped out of their reach, but you see it clearly. Their power wasn't something you took. It was something they never truly had. While they're still trying to figure out how to keep you in their story, you've already left their stage. They might whisper, scheme, or try to pull you back, but it's too late. You become something they can't contain, can't silence, can't stop. You are the shift they never saw coming. You are the proof that their narrative was never real, that their walls were never unbreakable. This isn't the end of the journey. It's just the beginning. The shift you've embraced is only growing stronger. Every step you take now is filled with purpose. Every move you make is aligned with the truth of who you are. You've outgrown their games, their illusions, their expectations. And as you walk forward, you'll continue to rise. This is the moment they never wanted to face. The moment you step fully into your light, unbound and unstoppable. You are the shift they feared, and there's no turning back. You've reached a pivotal moment. Everything you've gone through, all the trials, doubts, and dark nights, has been leading to this. You've outgrown the boxes others tried to keep you in, and now, there's no going back. You may feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. After all, stepping into something greater isn't just about leaving the old behind. It's about embracing the unknown. But deep down, you know you're ready. You've carried the weight of the past long enough. Now the future is calling. It's urging you to expand beyond anything you once thought possible. This isn't just a chance to grow, it's your destiny. It hasn't been easy. Think back to the moments you felt trapped, when no matter how hard you tried, it seemed you couldn't break free. There were times when the walls felt like they were closing in, when you questioned your purpose and whether you'd ever truly find your place. Maybe you faced rejection from people you thought you could trust. Maybe you felt invisible, as if the world couldn't see the brilliance you carried inside. Those feelings weighed on you, made you doubt yourself, and at times, even made you wonder if you should give up. But through it all, something kept you going. Something inside whispered, "You're made for more." Then, everything began to shift. It wasn't all at once. It was subtle, gradual. You started noticing things you hadn't before. The patterns in your life began to make sense. The struggles that once seemed meaningless revealed their purpose. This wasn't just a series of random events. It was preparation. Like a seed breaking through the soil, you began to realize that all the pressure, all the challenges, were helping you grow. And as you grew, the walls that once confined you started to crumble. You weren't trapped anymore. You were being released. You can see it now. The transformation isn't just internal. It's all around you. Opportunities are appearing where there were none. People are showing up in your life at just the right time. You're noticing synchronicities, moments where everything seems to click into place. The shifts you feel aren't random. They're signs that the universe is responding to your growth. Your energy is different now. It's clearer, stronger, more aligned. This isn't a coincidence. It's confirmation that your expansion is not only possible, it's inevitable. What you've been through wasn't wasted. It wasn't for nothing. It was setting you up for something greater. As you look back, you see how every challenge, every hardship, was orchestrated to prepare you for this exact moment. You may have wondered why you had to endure so much, why the road seemed harder for you than for others. But now you understand you were being refined. Just as gold is purified through fire, your journey was making you stronger, more resilient, more capable. The divine hand was always there, guiding you, even when you couldn't see it. Now it's unmistakable. You've also come to realize that the resistance you once faced wasn't just about the obstacles themselves. It was about your growth. Growth often feels uncomfortable. It challenges the old ways of thinking and being. It pushes you to let go of what no longer serves you. And that can be scary, but it's also liberating. You've stepped into a space where you see the truth. The only limits that ever existed were the ones you believed in. By shedding those old beliefs, you've opened yourself up to a world of infinite possibilities. This is the moment to embrace who you really are. Now it's time to act. You've seen the signs, felt the shifts, and know that something extraordinary lies ahead. But expansion isn't just about recognizing the change. It's about stepping into it. This means releasing any lingering fears or doubts. It means trusting that the same force that brought you this far will carry you through the next phase. Trust in your intuition and your own strength. Lean into the opportunities that come your way. Take the risks that once felt too big. Remember, you've already done the hard part. You've awakened to your potential. Now it's about living it. As you continue forward, hold on to this truth. You are capable of more than you ever imagined. You were never meant to stay small, to play it safe, to shrink yourself for the comfort of others. This is your time to expand, to claim the life that's been waiting for you all along. Everything you need is already within you. The past doesn't define you. The doubts don't control you. The path ahead is yours to walk, yours to shape. So go forward with confidence, knowing that your expansion is not only possible, it's certain. This is your moment. Own it. You were never just playing the game. You were designing it. They thought they had won, but you were always 10 steps ahead. Now, as you stand in your full power, it's clear that you never needed their approval, their validation, or their control. You held the power all along. Subscribe if you haven't yet, like this video, and comment "I am chosen" to let this message anchor in your soul. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. 4 full prophetic revelations daily. Join the membership via the link in the description. Your spiritual path deserves more than fragments. Step into the full light. You are the blueprint. You are the shift. Keep rising.